good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're listening to this, I hope you're having an awesome day. Our conversation today is going to be focused on what we can do to make this year an awesome year. How we can stay on track with any of the goals and resolutions, intention words, whatever you're doing to start off this year as a success, and whatever your dreams and aspirations are for this year. I want to talk about how we can push through the fade of many of these goals and resolutions, because, hey, about 6 weeks into the new year, most everybody has forgotten about the New Year's resolutions they made, the goals they made towards the end of the previous year. And the biggest obvious, example of this is take a look around in your gym and see how many people have stopped coming by the first part of February. Before we get into that discussion, a couple of pieces of housekeeping I'd love to share with you. Number one, I have the online store set up on my website so that you can order my book, My Grandpa's Grandpa. Now, that's a child's book, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So go over to the website. If you're interested in placing an order for that book, go to the website, cool-grandpa.us. Right there at the top, it says bookstore. Click, go into that, and you can order the book. So I hope you enjoy it. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from it, and I'm excited to be able to share this. And don't worry, if you're an Amazon subscriber, user, I am getting set up on Amazon. It's just taken me a while to figure all this out because I am going through and doing the work myself. I probably should have outsourced it, but I wanted to take my own advice to other grandpas and kind of learn something new, dive in and figure this thing out. So I've been working hard on getting the connections to the U.S. Postal Service for the, shipping rates, so that those are automatically calculated. I've been working to set up the product. I've been working to do all these different things that, if I had a 12-year-old grandson around or a granddaughter, they would probably figure it out in 30 minutes. But it's taken me a few days to figure it out. And so I've got the online store on my website all done, and now I'm working on Amazon as well. So without further ado, let's jump into this conversation. Hello, and welcome to the Cool Grandpa Podcast. This is your host, Greg Payne, coming at you from Studio 12. This podcast is about being the best possible grandpa you can be, focusing on what it is to be a grandpa and how we can all share that experience together for our grandchildren. This conversation, I'm really kind of thinking about, and the intention around this is, how can you be awesome this year? And why am I saying, how can you be awesome? Because I need you to be awesome so that you inspire me to be awesome. So what I want to do is help us both out so that we can really stay on track with our dreams, our desires, our goals, our intentions. Whatever you want to accomplish this year, I want to make sure that we've got a good foundation to make that happen. Now, why is this important to us? Because I feel like as grandparents, we can't just sit still and then just be valuable to people. We have to keep growing. We have to keep developing. We have to keep moving forward in our personal lives, professional lives, social lives. And, a phrase that's really jumped to mind for me has been, if you want to be of value to somebody, you have to be of value. And the way that we become people of value is by constantly working towards goals and dreams and aspirations so that we expand our knowledge, we expand our skill set, we expand, who we are, so that we really have a lot to offer to our family, our friends, our community. If you're one of the people that likes to set goals, set New Year's resolutions, set intentions, create a word for the year, and that word as an example could be something like thrive. It could be something like profit. It could be something like grow. It could be whatever that word is that's going to mean and inspire you to move forward in your life. Use it. Now, all these things are great to have. And if you're like me for many years, these things just sit in your head. And it's something that you're kind of working towards. It's something you're kind of driving towards, but you're not really doing anything concrete to get these things, these intentions, these dreams out of your head and into the world, let's say. And you have to have that plan so that you can reach your goals. Now, when I read and have gone through The Strangest Secret, one of the definitions of success that I love is the constant movement forward towards that goal. So there's two parts of in that example of being successful. One is the goal itself, right? So if you want to lose 50 pounds and you hit 50 pounds, then that's success, right? But if you're looking to lose 50 pounds and you lose 40 pounds, well, that's still success because you keep moving forward and you keep moving forward towards that goal. Now, you may not have hit it in the time period that you wanted, but you're moving forward to the constant realization of that goal. And I really like that because, it allows for the journey to be some of that success. So it's not an all or nothing. It's not so binary in the sense of you either hit it or you didn't. Right? It's, you may not have hit it yet. You may not have realized that goal yet, but you're a lot further along now than when you had started with that. Now, here is a way that I think is really helpful to make sure that those goals get out of our heads and that we, keep moving forward with it so that we don't become some of the folks with really great intentions that start out at the gym and really clog up all the machines and the treadmills and everything else, January 2nd, but by February 16th, they're nowhere to be found anymore. And that is what I want you to do is to write the goals down, write your word down, write your dream down, write your big plans down, and use like a 3x5 card. And I want you to do these steps, and I want you to do them twice, and there's a reason for that. But I want you to write down what that goal is, what that word is, what the plan is for this year. And it doesn't have to be every single thing that you want to do. But I would say if you have big plans for putting an addition onto the house or repainting all the interior of the house, put something like that down. If you have an idea that, hey, I want to rent a beach house in August and have the entire family come to the beach and spend a week with all the cousins and the kids and the grandkids and the son-in-laws and daughters-in-laws, put that down because you need to be able to take steps along the way to make that happen. So write out what that goal is. And be specific with it. So if you're saying, hey, I want to lose weight, actually write down the amount of weight that you want to lose. If you want to increase the distance that you're running, write down the distance that you want to hit. If you're, and part of this is so that it can be measurable, right? Because if you just say something like, hey, I want to be a better person, well, what does that really mean? If you say you want to increase your physical fitness level, well, what does that mean? Does that mean you've increased your deadlift? Does that mean you've increased your cardiovascular? Does that mean you've increased your flexibility? All good things, but it helps to be specific so that you can measure where you are and how far you have to go and how far you've come, so that you can celebrate in that success. So be specific, write that down on a 3x5 card. Now, the next thing I want you to do is to write down the why. Why is that goal important to you? And if you don't know the why, and if it's not a strong enough why for you, you're going to fade. You're going to drop it. It's not going to be something that you're going to spend a lot of time on. And it's something that may be great, but if you don't know why you're doing this, then you've got no motivation when things get tough, when things get boring as you're trying to reach that goal. So make sure you write down a why for that. The third part of this is write down the when. So give yourself a time frame for this. And it doesn't have to be by the end of the year. And you can use these for shorter term goals, shorter term dreams, shorter term resolutions, whatever you're calling this. You can have these things be month long, quarter long, half a year, whatever it is. It might even be a 3-year goal. I mean, you might be putting in some big, audacious, hairy goal. What I mean by that is maybe you're going back to school and you're going to get an associate's in something. Or maybe you've got to go through training and it's going to be a 3-year course and it's going to take a long time. Go ahead and put that in. Whatever the duration is, make sure you put it in. So the 3 things on that card is write down what the goal is, write down the why, and then write down the when. And the reason I want you to write this out twice is because I want you to keep a set of these cards in your nightstand somewhere around where you're going to bed so that you can read them in the morning, you can read them in the evening. The next set of cards that you have, I want you to keep those by the place you work. And if you're in a truck or whatever, maybe you laminate these things and you just stick them in the back of your jeans, or you find some place to do it. And the reason for that is when your day really sucks and it's just been a grind and a struggle, I want you to take 5 minutes, pull those goals out, read through them again, think about where you started, where you are, and realize that you're working hard towards something. And, your work life may not be what you want it to be that day, but you are working hard towards something, and work and what you're doing or where you're volunteering or whatever that is, that's helping you towards your goal. And it may just be something that, hey, I'm working at this job to get money so I can go do something else. Or I'm working at this job for whatever that reason is, to take care of my family. I'm working at this job that, today it really sucks and I'm just going to have to buckle down, suffer through it, and just grind it out. Knowing that tomorrow is going to be a different day, but this job, whatever it is I'm doing, is helping me out. And that could be difficulties throughout the day. I mean, maybe you have a big fight with somebody and you're depressed and you're angry. And you may not feel like reading those cards at that time. And I'm not telling you have to. But what I am suggesting is when things calm down and you're in a little bit of better frame of mind, pull those things out and look at what you're trying to accomplish and look at where you've come from, look at where you're going. The other part of this too, when you're reviewing these cards, is I want you to cut loose with your imagination. So for me, one of my goals, one of my desires, and I haven't put this down on a 3x5 card, this is still in formulation phase, let's say, is I'd love to get a Series 3 Corvette, 1969, 1970, and I want that for the purpose of doing some road trips with the grandkids at a future date. Definitely my big road trip plan is not something that's on the near term. It's something on the far term. But what I want to do is start to use my imagination. How am I going to acquire that Corvette? How am I going to make sure that, it's roadworthy to go off and drive around 6,000 miles over the summer? How am I going to get there? And so I've got to let loose with that imagination so that I can see all the possibilities and not just see all the constraints. And I think that's important to us when we're really looking at what our hopes and dreams are. If you're wanting to redo the kitchen, but you don't really have the money to plop down today for the renovation, put that down as a goal. And then as you're reading this thing and you're going through the card, sit back and take a minute and start to really use the imagination on what you're doing. Maybe you can have a garage sale and you can raise up some of the money that way. Maybe you can grab a second job temporarily and get some money that way. Maybe you can barter some of your talents and services with a contractor that's willing to do some work for you. Maybe web design and you can set up an online store. And maybe there's a contractor that needs to have some of that put in place to help his business out. And they're willing to give you some money off if you do some of that work. Whatever that is, let loose with the imagination when it comes time to looking over what your goals are and when you're going to be working on towards the accomplishment. And then also too, be open to sharing these with other people. I have a hard time with sharing anything with anybody. And that's just me. I tend to be fairly closed off. And it's something that I'm definitely working on, but I've got a whole bunch of ideas and dreams and things that have just been, inside. Like I said, I'm at the point where I need to start to get stuff out, and this is a program, and this is something that I'm starting to work on myself. And I'm just, hoping that I'm adding value to you by giving you some ideas if you haven't done this before. Get these things down on those cards. Maybe not everything, but maybe the biggies, let's call it. And make sure that you've got something that's at your bedside and something where you can access it at your workplace. And you know what? If you want to use technology and you want to put it in your phone, great. If you want to put it on your computer and you have a file somewhere that's got this written down, fine. The 3x5 cards, though, is great because it's something that you can put in your pocket. You can drop into a backpack. You can put into your work bag. Whatever it is, those are easy to have and they're physical. A big part of this is, I think, being able to sit down and write it out versus type it out, because I'm a big believer that writing versus typing helps you to maintain the information. There's something there, and I'm not a scientist. I can't tell you everything about it, but I do believe that writing something out versus typing it out helps really imprint it into your mind. So here's a couple of things for bonus points. If you're doing all this and you're staying focused and you're moving forward, here's 3 different areas for bonus points. Number 1, set a goal to read these cards every single day for 30 days. And when you do that, I also want you to be able to look around you as you're getting towards the end of week 1. How are some of these goals starting to appear, and how are you starting to build success with some of these goals, some of these dreams, some of these intentions that you have? Be open to being able to go, lucky me. I got $5,000 back from a weird tax thing from 4 years ago. I wasn't expecting. Now I've got money to redo the kitchen. Be open and be aware of how you're making progress. Maybe it's something where you have a breakthrough, and if you're looking for losing weight, and you've developed a way of eating that works for you and is allowing you to start to drop weight, and you're starting to see 5 pounds come off. You're starting to see 7 pounds come off. Whatever that is, read these things, read these cards every day for 30 days. And if you miss a day, you have to reset the timer. So that's one of the bonus points that you get for going through this process. The next bonus point that I'm going to give you is that you sit down and you tell somebody what your plan is, what your goal is, what your word for the year is, and prompt them, ask them to ask you about that the next time you see them, talk to them, email them, whatever. Look for an accountability partner on some of these things. You don't need the same person for every single goal, but somebody that if you're looking to write a book this year and you sit down and you talk to a friend that's outside of your writers club or your critique group, you ask a friend, hey, next time you see me, ask me about the book. I mean, some people are going to do that just because they're interested, right? But if you're asking somebody to check in and do that, you've now got an accountability partner. So the next time you've got lunch scheduled, you're going to be like, oh, I've got to make some progress on this. I've got to, be able to report when I see Bob that I've written another 20 pages. It doesn't have to be final work. It's just draft work. But, hey, I've done another 20 pages. The first bonus point is going to be reading these things every day for 30 days, resetting if you miss a day, and then being able to use that imagination to focus on how you're going to be able to make these and celebrate the wins that you're starting to see as you read these goals every single day for 30 days. The next bonus point, ask somebody to follow up with you. Hey, next time you see me, do me a favor. Can you ask me about this? And, wrestle in and get an accountability partner that way. The third thing is if your grandchild is old enough, add them as an accountability partner. Of course, this is age appropriate, but if you've got some older grandkids, maybe you tell them about some of your fitness goals. And maybe it's something that you and your granddaughter can work on together. Maybe she's getting curious in running cross country and you're just interested in being able to go run a mile on a treadmill. Well, maybe you can start to ask each other in your conversations, your emails, your text messages, how'd you do this week? Did you hit your goals for running? Did you hit your goals for, whatever it is that you're sharing with that grandchild? Maybe some of it's going to be, hey, I need to put a retaining wall into my backyard and I'm going to do it myself. So maybe you have the grandson or granddaughter come over and help you out with that. But maybe you also have them asking you, hey, when are we going to do this? When are you going to, go buy supplies? When are you going to do the planning for putting in the retaining wall? So use the grandkids if they're old enough, because I think that's a great connection point. And it shows them that you're working hard, that you're making progress, that you have goals and ambition. And it encourages that discussion with them, because you can turn around and go, hey, so what are you working on this year? What are you working on this month? What are you working on? And maybe some of it is, hey, they're working really hard in the off season. So when tryouts come for JV baseball, that they're going to be able to make the team. And so throughout that off season, you're asking them how training's going, and they're asking you how whatever goal you're working on is going. So it's a great way to build that connection. So hopefully you've got some great intentions that you built up at the end of last year, dreams, goals, resolutions, intentions, word for the year. And now you're ready to make sure that you're not one of these people that fade off. And so to do that, like I said, write down those goals, write down the why, make sure it's powerful enough to keep you motivated through the times where working towards that goal just really sucks and it's boring and you're not motivated, and that why is really there to drive you. And then write down the when. When are you going to have this thing done? And you know what? Remember that success is the constant working towards a worthy goal. So it's two parts, the goal and the journey. So with that, I'm going to, call it a day, call it a conversation. I hope this really helped you. I hope it inspired you, and I hope it added some value to you and your goals and what you're looking forward to doing this year. And until next time, remember to stay cool.
Thank you for listening to the Cool Grandpa Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do me a favor and share it with a friend. That's the best way you can help us to expand our community, as well as get the news out about how valuable grandpas are in the lives of those kids. If you'd like to leave me a comment or shoot me a potential topic for this podcast, please go to www.cool-grandpa.us. Look for the comments tab, fill it out, hit submit. It's as easy as that. Until next time, remember to stay cool.